Hey, here we go. Welcome, everyone. And Patricia, thank you so much for being here. For those that
Thank
don't know
you.
me, I'm Anna Ford. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bookclubs, and I am honored today to be joined by Patrisha McLean, president and founder of Finding Our Voices, which is an organization dedicated to breaking the silence of domestic abuse. And she's also the leader of a really impactful and growing book club, the Finding Our Voices book club, which we're excited to talk about today. So Patricia, thanks for being here. Maybe you could take a moment to introduce yourself and your organization.
Yes, and this is such a pleasure to talk with you because when I first had the idea of doing a book club and I found out that this book club that I chose to do it with, the organization, the founder lived in my town. So how awesome is that? And I know I reached out a few
Cool.
times for some technical assistance and you're so great. You're always so great about that. Um, so yes, I am a photojournalist. I live in Maine. My ex was arrested for domestic violence in 2016, and it was was a celebrity, I guess you'd say, and the worldwide headlines on that sort of broke my silence, and what seemed like the worst thing in the world for me at the time, but it ended up being a good thing because it got me out, and it got it out what was going on, and it got me out. And so I started Finding Our Voices, and it's really just opening everyone's eyes, minds, hearts to what is going on all around us. And one of the wonderful ways we do that is through this book club. It's just one more way, to read books and talk about it. And I really like the idea of coming at it in a slanted way. So not picking up the most obvious books that maybe people, that's the thing, is like no one was really talking about domestic abuse. So every once in a while, there'll be a book that will surface. That's a really good book. Well, Made, let's say, like the TV series, No Visible Bruises, which is amazing. But a lot that'll be on a lot of people's radar. But there's other books that aren't as obviously about domestic abuse. But once your eyes are opened, as mine are, I kind of see it everywhere. So I'll be seeing books, like for instance, if I can just reach over here, I was just reading you know, biography on Charlie Chaplin. And who would know, but he is a domestic abuser. And so I thought that was interesting to read that book because, and then it comes to the question of, the art versus the artist. So once you know that he was an abuser, he targeted women, girls when they were like 15, 14 and 15. And it was just very classic about isolation and putting them down and the financial abuse. So then once you know that, like, how does it impact your appreciation of him as the artist? So that led to that discussion. So
Mhm.
that's the kind of thing. Or for instance, cults. Like, I just feel that domestic abuse is so much like a cult. And that's why when I started reading books about cults, I was like, this is domestic abuse. And so we've read a number of books about cults, and but I don't know what the original question was, but maybe I've gone beyond
Just
that.
introductory. No, but this was a great introduction also to the book club and kind of what inspired you to start it and how it fits in with the broader mission of the organization. So maybe you could just expound a little bit on the book club itself, not just why it exists and why you started it, but it's been now what, a year and a half since it launched. So tell us a little bit of how it's evolved since you launched the book club.
Well, Mary Lou and I, by the way, are both co-facilitate this. Mary Lou is 83 years old, and her ex was a University of Maine professor. She got out when she was 45. She got out when she was 65 years old
Mhm.
after being terrorized by him for 45 years, and her family also. Um, and we do this together where if she hears about a good book, she'll let me know about it. If I hear about a good book, I'll let her know it. And we're always on this together. And it started, it's kind of the same that it was really. It's just that there's more members now. We like to mix it up. So this is a night, we have Finding Our Voices is a nonprofit. And we're all over Maine, and we do a outreach where we have the faces of 45 survivors on these posters that are all over Maine. Then we also provide many services, like we have a fund that helps them get out, stay out. We have pro bono dental care for survivors, online support groups. But this is one program where sometimes a woman is not either, doesn't want to really come out like as a domestic abuse survivor, but she just wants a little more understanding about what she's going through. This will be good for her. This is for someone who is interested in finding their voices, but is not does not identify as a survivor. And so it's kind of a way we have a mix of, and also it's for people who are outside of Maine, because everything else we do is kind of for women in Maine. But this is for people, sometimes they'll get in touch with us from Europe or from the West Coast or outside of Maine. And we can say, well, you can join us this way. You know, it's on Zoom, it's online, and you'll see many people from Find Our Voices. You'll be with other women who've been through it, but also women who haven't. And it's just another way to talk about it. And so that's another really nice thing about it. That's the one program that we have where people can participate outside of Maine. And yeah, so it's basically, it's kind of the same as when we started, but we've just done a lot more books. And the other thing is, we really, most of the time, the author joins us for the discussion. So that was kind of when I started. I always wanted that to happen, and time has proven that it's working, because for one example is Mary Lou. She heard about this book, The Woman They Could Not Silence. The author is Kate Moore, who also did the amazing book Radium Girls, and she's from England. And she reached out, and Kate Moore agreed to be in our book club. She came from England, so it was quite a few hours ahead or behind. Yeah, the author is, I'm really happy about that. That's really nice when the author will join us. And also the fact that they are taking the time to do this, and they care about the issue, and they want to talk about it with people who, some of whom have been through it.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so just to recap a few logistics of the book club, it is open to a broad audience of members. If you're interested, you can find more about it at findingourvoices.net, but also on book clubs on our joint bookclubs.com. If you go to our Join a Book Club page, you'll see the book club there and how to learn more about it or to join. As Patricia mentioned, the meetings are all held virtually. And often, almost all the time, the author is in attendance, and the membership has ballooned now. I think there are officially over 200 members of the group, but I'm sure each meeting is a smaller, kind of more intimate group that can make the live meetings. But it is a place to share books and reading recommendations on the book clubs platform as well. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the books you've read, Patricia, and some that the book club will discuss in the future. Just any really memorable discussions or books that you want to highlight, or some upcoming events that you're particularly excited about?
Well, this was a book that it was memorable. All the authors that have been with us have been. Donna Kaz, can't remember how I found out about this, but a friend told me about her. She read something about her. But Donna Kaz, when she was quite young, she got pulled into a relationship with the late actor, William Hurt. And I read this and I was just astounded by it, because he is such a classic domestic abuser. And people might know him, Body Heat and different movies, as coming across as Mr. Sensitive, right? And Donna and I had something in common here, because my ex was a celebrity as well. And so there's that dynamic that we brought, that we could just talk together about, sort of the added element when everyone thinks that this guy, he's getting standing ovations and he's getting all these awards and everything. And when the real truth about this person. And Linda Dynell, this is a book that I think she self-published. That's what happens a lot of times too, is women will send me the books that they have self-published, and we will read it. And if it really stands out, and as this one did, and we're so excited about having her on our book club as she came on, and we just felt leaving Dorian was, it was just amazing as far as taking you through the journey of being pulled in, understanding what's going on, and then leaving, which is a whole other thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I could go on and on, but Kelly Sundberg, this was recommended to me by a librarian, and it was emotional abuse for a long time, and then it turned physical. That was incredible. Beautiful Ashes. Okay, so Shelley's father grew up, beautiful home, upper middle class. They seemed to have everything. She would say, the mother, he was beating the mother up. And the mother said to the girls one time in their bedroom, they were like maybe 10 or 12 or something, I'm going to leave your father. And they said, they begged her not to, because they were in school. They didn't want to have to leave their school. Mm. And she said, he's going to kill me if I don't. And they begged her not to. And he burned the house down, and he murdered the mother and burned their house down. This is what happened to this woman, Shelley. She was the daughter. And so this is a memoir about it. And another astonishing thing is that this little girl, well, she was maybe 15, she was going to testify for the trial, the murder trial. And before the trial, he was let out on the streets, and she was living with him. So she's living with him before the trial. And it's just, the insanity of it is just goes on and on. But, and so coming up, we're really excited because on October 13th, do I have that right? It's the Monday. I just read this book by Sarah Perry. Her mother was murdered in Bridgeton, Maine. And it was, she loved her mother so much. And this was intergenerational domestic abuse, and culminating with that. And it was just such a beautiful book. And a friend had told me about this. I read it, and I reached out to her, and she is going to appear with us on the book club. And I'm really looking forward to that.
It's so great. So just the taste of some of the books you've read, I'm sure the discussions with the authors and with the book club members, they're difficult conversations, and pasts and issues to kind of live through, experience, discuss. The question I have, about the book club and discussing these important topics and books. You've mentioned that the book club really is open to women that identify as survivors, and many that do not, and that may just want to listen in or join the conversation or learn more, or build awareness. Kind of given that openness, how do you facilitate and keep, conversations respectful, but also, very open and real within the book club?
Well, I really appreciate one feature. I appreciate all the features of book clubs. One of the features I appreciate is that there's a survey that everyone has to answer before they're admitted as a member, and that helps to screen for us. Mm-hmm. So we can just get an idea of why someone might want to join this club, and they'll provide their email address. And sometimes I'll follow up with an email if I'm just not sure if this would be a good fit for them, and we could have a little correspondence. So I do some screening. Mm-hmm. And so far we haven't had any issues at all. It's very respectful. And the people who haven't, sometimes it's the people who haven't necessarily been survivors. Maybe they have a friend, or if most people do. Most people have a friend or a family member who has been through this, especially when you understand that it's not just physical abuse. We're talking about controlling relationships also. So most people will have some entry point where they care about this issue. And it's always a respectful conversation. The questions and the comments from people who haven't been through it are very insightful. And they're just curious, and they want to know, and we're here to answer to the author, but also the people in the group. So it lends for some very, I'd say, stimulating and discussion.
It's great. That's great to hear. And I think that that openness and the work that you do, kind of screening and vetting the members, probably leads to that not only that safety, but that I hope through the book club a true sense of community amongst the members. I don't know if there's anything to share about, a virtual book club. We're all on Zoom. But how a real kind of sense of community or camaraderie could come about through a book club experience like yours.
Well, yes, it is absolutely a community and camaraderie. And there's a woman who's from South Carolina, and she has been in our book club from the very beginning. And she has just, I think she's in academia, and I really am grateful to her for being on it, because she just comes in with some very thoughtful questions, and she will have studied sometimes the issue, in the particular issue. And it's just, I love seeing her like every month or so. This is kind of it's not a monthly necessarily book club. We just host these, like, I guess it's a once in a while. So it'd be like, maybe sometimes it's a monthly, but sometimes it'll be every few months. But her name is Beth. I'm always really looking forward to seeing her at every book club. So it's really a nice thing when there's some people who are here time after time, and we all get to see each other. And then, as someone pointed out, this is a group that you otherwise would never assemble with. Like, it's not like you're going to necessarily, this is your friends group that you meet for coffee. It's just a lot of people from very, very different backgrounds. We talked to John Holmes. He was a famous porn star in the 1980s, and he was involved with a very infamous murder case. And the woman was trafficked. She was his girlfriend, but trafficked by him. And so that's a kind of world that a lot of people would not get a glimpse into. So you have people from really all different kinds of experiences and locations and, different fields. And we're all coming together, and we all are talking about a book and a subject, and it's quite a beautiful thing.
Great to hear. So as the popularity of the club grows, and I think you're successful in your work to raise awareness and really bring about the sense of community and talking about it openly, what are some of your goals for the book club looking forward, either engagement or participation, or some things you really hope that the book club inspires? Just anything that comes to mind in terms of specific goals for the club, or is it more about just continuing to host and hold the space for these conversations?
I would like a lot of people to be where I am right now, where I am reading, I'm watching TV, I'm watching movies, I'm reading things, and I'm like, oh my God, domestic abuse, domestic abuse, domestic abuse, and just seeing it everywhere and recognizing it. And that's what my hope is. And I think that through this book club, that is happening.
That's a great goal. Okay, let me ask you two more questions. I think that our community, the broader book clubs community, would be interested in hearing about. One is, has your book club encountered any challenges or kind of difficult moments? And maybe how did you get through that? Is my first question. So yeah, I'll ask that one first.
I don't know. Are we going to edit this so that if my pause is going to be taken out? Because it might be quite a big pause. I can't really remember any. The only thing I can think of is there was one author whose book I read, and I tried to reach out to her and ask her to join us. I never did hear from her. So I don't know if she ever got the message, but I guess that's the only thing I can think of for a challenge, because most times when I've read a book and wanted the author to join us, they have gotten back and said they would do it. It's been a challenge when there's been a time difference. One time we had a woman from Venezuela join us that used to live in Maine, and she had to flee Maine, and she had to go all the way to South America to flee this guy. And I think that might have been a little difficult with the time difference, if I remember correctly. So sometimes with the time difference, the authors had to join us at like 1 a.m. or something. But other than that, it's been extremely smooth. And I would just credit that with book clubs. I think you just run a credible site, and it just, there's never anything that is a problem. It's just very smooth. It works great. I'm so grateful to it. I don't think we would be, and I don't think we'd be doing this without your book club. So it's very smooth, and I would really not say that we really haven't had any challenges at this point.
Okay, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. And thanks also for your kind of encouragement and positive feedback of the platform. It's exactly why Book Club exists. We want to help book clubs get organized and off the ground, but ultimately we know that when we can streamline the logistics for a club, they're more likely to stay together. So these groups and books and conversations can continue. So last question, or just kind of thought or comment, Patricia, is any inspiring message you might have to someone that is thinking about joining the book club, and or even a current member, and reminding everyone of how they can follow what the book club is doing and join.
Yeah, I would say just as long as you're a member, you're going to be getting these notifications. Once, if you are going through domestic abuse, I think the conversation is going to help you. You're going to see a community out there. You're not alone. And finding our voices, even though most of our programs are for people in Maine. For instance, we have the photo portraits of 45 Maine women survivors on our website, and about half of them have audio that you can listen to. They also have documentation of what they've been through. So once you've joined our Finding Our Voices book club, there are a lot of resources on our website for you as a way to further stay connected. And I just am grateful to everyone who even does not identify as a survivor, or doesn't think they've been, because sometimes a woman will get involved with us because they're just realizing, like, oh my goodness, the 25-year marriage was actually abusive. But even people, I'm grateful to people who don't necessarily identify as a survivor, because they care about this issue and they want to learn more about it. And this book club is really a really excellent way to learn more about it, through books, through engaging in conversation.
Great. And again, they can join through the book club has its own page. Go to bookclubs.com/join a book club and just search for Finding Our Voices. And it will take you through the process of meeting Patricia and hopefully joining the club.
And also, you know, at the same time, you could visit findingourvoices.net and learn more about our group.
Yep.
And we're always open to suggestions. So if anybody has any suggestions of books that you feel we should read, love to hear about them.
Yep. And as you know, Patricia, I'm an avid reader. I really believe in the magic of book club. But as a Mainer, that I've seen the 45 women you were talking about, their photographs all over the state and almost every town, but hearing the audio of sort of their experience on your website is really powerful, and such a testament to the bravery and strength of these women. And I think the movement that you've started is just going to continue to grow. So it's an honor for book clubs to play a small part in what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And if I could just say, I just had this thought that if most people maybe would say, even libraries, if they would say, well, how many books do you have about domestic violence, or how many books are there on domestic violence? Sometimes there'll be 3, but I've got a bookshelf in my office in the next room, a bookcase that has 4 shelves, and there must be 65, 70 books that I know are touch on and reveal something, you know, important about revealing domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
So the books are out there, and we are scouring to bring them to the people in our club.
Great. Yeah, it's another feature of book clubs, not only the ability to read books you may not have known about or otherwise wouldn't have been able to read or discover on your own. You can do so through a book club, but I know that there are digital shelves for all clubs and for your club where members can recommend books to one another and kind of keep a growing list of potential books to read. So books on this topic. It's a really great example of how those shelves can be used for good. So with that, Patricia, thank you so much and best of luck with the upcoming event on October 13th and with the book club as it continues to grow. So thanks for taking the time to chat.
Thank you. Anna, can we stay on? Could you get a picture of us?
Yeah, let me stop the recording.